Hello there, my beautiful book lovers. My name is Camille, and welcome back to my channel. Happy winter. It is finally our season. We can stay indoor, read as long as we want without feeling that we're missing out on days, sunshines, and outdoor activities or anything of that sort. So it is very fun. And as you can see, I have sort of switched from my regular book nook just to be a little bit more festive, also in celebration of the holiday season. And for this video, I thought instead of doing a usual sort of comfort read, snowy, cold related to holiday season, I'm going to recommend some books that are about still related to holiday, but in a different sense, and that is the theme of family and friends, because that's one of the main whole purpose of this holiday season is to really appreciate and pay attention to our family members, our friends. And family doesn't always need to mean parents or siblings or anything. It really is whoever that we call family. And so because of that, I sort of thought this would be a nice video to recommend books with those themes. So anyway, let's get into it. The first book that anytime that you think about family, friendship, snow, cold, comfort read, the book that comes to mind, at least for me, it is Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott, because this book, honestly, if you have not read it yet, you should just go pick it up right now from a library, a bookstore, an audiobook, and just read it, because it's such a fantastic story. It is such a comfort read, and I want to make it pretty clear that you do not need to be afraid or intimidated by the fact that it's a classic, that it will be hard to follow, read, it will be this or that, because it really is not. This story, as I'm guessing most people will know, at least from the movies or whatnot, it is about the 4 March sisters, and this book represent and talks about family and the sense of belonging and home and love and comfort so well that it's honestly one of the greatest books, and it is such a comfort read for the winter season because it brings us all of those good feelings, but also there's the sad feelings, but it's it has it all. It is such just a perfect book for this season that I thought that to start this list with it. And staying with the classic books, I should highly recommend Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. This series, it is honestly, I feel Anne, it's one of my all-time favorite fictional character that have ever existed, and I don't think anybody that at least I can remember is as bubbly and loving and just lovely as Anne. And this book, it's, again, I think it's one of the pretty well-known books. It's about Anne, who is an orphan girl that comes to this little town, and that's how she finds family in the sense of belonging and the sense of home. And this story is just so beautiful and funny and charming that honestly I highly recommend to read not only the first book but the entire series, because it is just so heartwarming to see Anne growing up, experiencing different feelings, different experiences, going to college, falling in love, getting married, having kids, her kids getting older, and they going to do their different things and different experiences. And so it is one of those series that I usually come back to it during either winter or spring, funny enough, because there are stories that happens during winter and there are stories during spring. I mean, the book's happening around the entire year, but those moments that happens during the winter or spring are the ones that stay out. And so during the winter, I feel especially during those cold nights, just having those very charming stories and feelings that Anne brings with the way that the quirky things that she does, especially when she's younger, and the stuff that she does just simply because she doesn't have experience, she doesn't know better. And then as she gets older and the experiences change, it is just a fantastic read. And I highly recommend it that if you have never read either Anne of Green Gables or the entire series, to give it a go. It is a wonderful story and really deserve to just stick with it for the holiday season and read it all. It's a great book. Then, moving on, I want to suggest one of my all-time favorite author, and that is Fredrik Backman, because he is just fantastic. If you want to read a book that it's about comfort and about family and friendship and support, honestly, any of his books will do. And since I have talked a lot about A Man Called Ove, which is one of my all-time favorite because it's just such a fantastic book and actually really does match with this theme, I'm going to switch and recommend a different book, and that is Britt-Marie Was Here. So this book is about a middle-aged older woman, Britt-Marie, and she is, because of the different reason, she gets pulled into this sort of a, I think it is a community center or something, and she is on her own, right? So like when she gets into this community and group, and then eventually she needs to like coach a soccer team, a kids soccer team, and there's all of these like little very charming stories that happens to her, and she needs to like deal with them. And she finds this family of hers that like community, the friendship, and it's such a fantastic read, and it's such a fun read also, because with Fredrik Backman, if you have never read any of his books, his characters are always so how can I like describe it? They are so real, but in a sense of like, because like, all of these characters, especially like the fictional characters, they are real in their own sense, obviously. But with Fredrik Backman, you really feel that like the character is like your neighbor or like someone that because there are so much like realistic, and like you can touch and feel them, because like for a lot of the other books that even like I have read, the characters, they are really in a fictional like world and universe, even if they are existing on planet Earth and everything, there's still like that like little shadow or a little curtain of fiction that separate them from us. But with Fredrik Backman, I never feel that. I always feel that, especially maybe because his characters are a little bit like usually older, they're a little bit have different experiences. So anyway, it's a fantastic read. Again, it's one of those like comfort reads that like even like anxious people, but Fredrik Backman, that's also a fantastic book that has all of these sense of like comforting and those themes. So if you're looking for any of those sort of vibes, he's a great author to sort of go with any of his books. Next on the list, I have a book that I recently read, and I thought that I have to include it, not only because we are book lovers and we are sort of a book club in a sense, or I hope so, and so this book is so perfect for that, and that is The Book Club Hotel by Sarah Morgan. So this book not only again has the sense of family and friendship, but it also has the sense of Christmas and winter and snow, because it's happening during that time. And the story is about these three friends that they have been together for like since college, and now they're like much older. They're I think they're turning 40, and so they're each in different stage of their lives, and each went their own different ways, because like we all as human beings are different. One wants to get married, one wants to like stick with a career, one is sort of unsure to which one goes, someone wants both of them. So anyway, these three friends, they have a book club, and they usually meet during summer, but this year, because there was some conflict, they decided to do it during winter and Christmas break. And then they end up going to this hotel that it's Maple Sugar Hotel, Maple Sugar Inn, if I'm not wrong, because they really wanted, like, one of the characters sort of was like, it's perfect, we can go there, it has a library, and it will be like fun. It has all the vibes that like we're looking for and everything. So anyway, they end up going there, and then they form a friendship with the woman that is running this hotel, and it's a lovely story. It's one of those books that like, it's sort of slow, but at the same time, because it has a little bit of a mystery to it, because of one of the characters and the decision that she's making that we don't know at the beginning, it pulls you in, and it's a comfort read. It's one of those books that you're not really reading it to feel all the feelings and have a lot of adventures, but you're reading it just because you want to feel like you're hanging out with a bunch of friends and you are a part of that book club. So I felt like it would be very appropriate because, again, these three women, they truly are each other's family, and they have been together for so long through different experiences of life and everything that had happened to each one of them. And so it's a nice read. I felt that it was very appropriate, and because of the whole the snow and Christmas vibe that it had, I enjoyed reading it. So I hope you give it a try and enjoy it as much as I did. And then we have The Dutch House by Anne Patchett. So this book, I read it last year, I think. It's time is just, I cannot remember anything anymore, and I don't know if it was last year, this year, 2 years ago. So anyway, this book, it's about the Dutch house. Not only the Dutch house, but the family that they used to live in this house, and the children loved it very, very much. And it was sort of a big part of their childhood. And then eventually they needed to move, and then another new family moved in, and we're following this story. This story, it's about the bond of not only the family members, but especially the bond between siblings, and how your childhood, the place that you call home, can affect you so much throughout your life, and how it can form and shape the relationship that you have with your family members and also with your siblings. And I love books that are about these sort of dynamics. And because of that, I found this book very interesting. Again, this was another book that it is very slow. You are not hit by big things and events every other page, but it's a book that feels it's could happen to anybody that you might know, that it could be about any house that you have passed before on the street, that that a family lives there, and the history that comes with living in a house. And so if you are interested in those sort of stories, I highly recommend this book because the writing was really good. It was very engaging, despite the fact that, again, it is not a book that has a hook per se, because some books have a hook because of the mystery, the adventure, the world building or something of that sort. And this book, it's not that, but it is so well done that is the hook of it, that keeps you reading and want to see what will happen with this house and this family. So if you're interested in any of those things, I highly recommend to give this book a try. Moving on, we have another one of my all-time favorite series, and that is The Lies of Lamora by Scott Lynch. This is the first book of the Gentleman Bastard series, and I have talked about this series before, but honestly, I feel this series deserves so much hype, because it is such a fantastic book. And the reason that I included it in this list is because the story, it's about a bunch of boys that are all orphaned, and they come together because sort of a priest, he's one of his sort of faces is that he's a priest, but actually he's a person that it's a thief, that he creates all of these scams and stuff to steal money from the rich of the society. So anyway, this priest brings these boys together and trains them to how to continue this sort of trade. And this is a fantasy book, so it's happening in a different universe, different world. But it is so good, dear God. There is this sense of a bond between these boys that really gets you involved with every single one of them. And that's what I really love about this story, that every single character has its own personality, and it is lovable enough that you will care about every single one of them. And at the same time, the story, the adventure, the heist that it's happening, and the scheme that they're sort of going with, it is very interesting. And at the same time, there's all of these questions and things that are brewing up that we don't really know, and neither the main characters. So we are figuring out things with them. So it's a fantastic book, honestly, series, and you have to give it a try, because it is one of those stories that will get you in and will not let you go till you're done. So if you're looking for some comfort read, but also more adventurous comfort in a sense, I guess, this is a perfect series to get into, especially because the series, it is not too long, but it's also not too short. You know, it is not one of those books that you can like finish it like in a day or two, like the entire series, unless you really want to like not to sleep or anything, which I do not recommend. But it's one of those that like it will be great to get into during the holiday season, that you hopefully have a couple of days off, so you can really just get into the whole universe and read all the books. So if you have the time, if you want to do that, I highly recommend to give it a go. Then we have a book that it's, well, not the book, but the author, that it has, I have been having a sort of a love-hate relationship. Well, hate is a little bit of a strong word. It's not hate, but it's like love and like sort of a feeling about, and that is Normal People by Sally Rooney. Please do not judge me and do not come for me. I do not think that Sally Rooney is not a good author. Absolutely not. I actually think that she's a great author. But my thing is like with some of her works, I don't feel connected to the characters as much, and I felt like meh. But with some of the rest of the books, I really actually enjoy them. So, you know, like, I'm not saying that, like, she's bad or anything. It's just that, like, you know, sometimes I'm sure it happens to all of us, you know, that, like, some books, they just don't hit the way that you want to. And that has been my experience with Sally Rooney. So anyway, the reason that I included Normal People in this list is that, first of all, it is one of my favorites of hers. And secondly, I feel this book, it really hits with that sense of home and comfort that you find in a person. And that is the story of these two characters that they meet when they're in high school, and because of like different events, they sort of start a friendship and a relationship, and it works, it doesn't work, and we are following them through their life, and they're like going to college and graduating and everything of that sort. And it is a comfort book that reminds you of those feelings and relationship that you create with a person, that brings you that sense of home. You know, these two characters, they are both flawed. We all are, but they find that comfort and that sense of love for one another despite everything that happens. And so I feel it's such a good read. It is a little bit different compared to like the rest of the books, because they really were focusing on the sense of like family, because even with the lives of Locke Lamora, they are not technically family, but they are really like, they're not friends, they are family. But with Normal People, it is a little bit different because of the relationship that they had and the type of the relationship that they had. But nonetheless, these two characters are so just family in a different sense for one another. They are that like comfort person. They are that person that, you know, you always look for when you're in a crowd of people that you don't know or you're not comfortable with. And because of that, I felt it would be nice to include it in this list. If you have not read any of Sally Rooney's books, please do not take my word for it, because again, first of all, it's not that I'm saying none of her books are good, but I don't want you to think that like, oh, Normal People, it's only like the good one or anything. Absolutely not. Please give it all a try, because some books might work for me, might not work for you. Some books might work for you, not work for me. So anyway, I just want to make sure that everybody is like, it's just out there that like, I am not saying in any sense that you should skip any of her books. It was just like my experience with some of the books that I have read, that they were not as my type as much as I wanted to. So anyway, but again, Normal People, it's a great book, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Then moving on and staying with another Irish author, we have Foster by Claire Keegan, if I'm not wrong. This book, oh my god, it gives you all the feelings. It hits you so hard right here. I swear to God, like it just like makes you to sit on a chair and stare at a wall for like 30 minutes just because like how you're feeling. This book is about a young child that is sent to live with a foster family simply because the family, her real family, cannot take care of her anymore. And when she goes, well, she's a young child, right? So she's feeling a lot of different feelings. She's sad. She doesn't understand all of these things. But eventually she starts to feel this sense of home and belonging and love from this foster family. And she finds this new family. This is story. It is beautiful. It is very short, but again, it hits you so hard that you just cannot believe that how a person, an author, can showcase all of these emotions and such an important topic and message in such a short book, because it's fantastic. Honestly, it's such an art. And I highly recommend to read any of her books. I have read a few, and every single one of them, honestly, has been such a win. So if you want to read, again, about finding a new family, belonging and love, and experiencing all of those feelings, I highly recommend this book. With her, all of her books are really those that makes you to love humanity, but also hate it sometimes, because we are human. We have our goods or bad, going back to normal people, right? But the thing is that like sometimes it's so easy to be good, but we do not do it. And sometimes it's so easy to be bad, but we actually end up doing the right thing. So anyway, it's a fantastic read. It's such it is comforting, honestly, because it is comforting in a different sense. And I highly recommend it, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. And then, staying with the theme of finding a new family, I will highly, highly recommend the duology of the Guncle by Stephen Rowley. This books, it is so fun, so charming, so heartwarming, but also comforting, but also witty. It is a book about these two young kids who have recently lost their mother, and their father it's going through a lot because of losing his wife, and so they decide to send the kids to the uncle, and he's their gay uncle, so they call him Guncle. And the story, it's about the adventures and everything that these three little main characters, well, they're not all three because the Guncle, it's an adult, but anyway, these characters go through, and I enjoyed reading this book so much, both of them, the Guncle and also the Guncle Abroad. The second book happens, I think it's 10 years or like 8 or something years after the Guncle book. So like the kids are now a little bit older, a little bit different, but they're still the charming kids that they were. And this book, it's such a nice read because it doesn't go too heavy with the grief, but it handles it so beautifully, honestly. It doesn't shy away from it. It really faces it forward, especially because the uncle, he was actually a close friend of the mother. And so they had a very close relationship, and he loved her so much as well. And so he is going through all of these grief and trauma of losing a person that close to you that fast and that young, but at the same time he needs to put this brave face on because these two kids that are very young, they need someone to support them. So anyway, it's one of those books that I feel it will brings you joy, it will brings you a little bit of laugh, a little bit of tears, but overall it's a fun read, and if you have not read it before, I highly recommend it. And I hope it's one of those books that reminds you that, you know, sometimes some events happen to us that are absolutely horrible, but we should not always really give up, and we should always know, or hopefully know, that we can always find others that can help us, that will love us, that will support us. And so anyway, it's a fantastic read, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. And then last but not least, I actually wanted to finish this list by recommending a manga. I cannot say I am the best person to recommend manga or anything. I have recently started reading some, and I've been enjoying it very much so, but I'm not the person to really you should come to. If anything, I would love to come to any of you guys that know more, and recommend me some books. But anyway, the series that I wanted to recommend for this list, which matched it so perfectly, it is the Spy X Family by Tatsuya Endo. Please forgive me for butchering every other names. But anyway, this series, it's about a spy that he's going on this mission, and for this mission he needs to have a wife and a child. So he goes and find a wife and a child, and then we're following them around with their adventures, their lives, the missions, and everything related to that. And it is so fun. Honestly, it is such a just adorable little series that you end up loving every single characters. It's very fun. I watched the anime, and it's as good as the books, even though I always suggest to read the book first, because you never know. Anyway, it's really fun. It is all about this sense of finding and creating a new family for yourself, to get this sense of support and love from others, to know that yes, we all have our flaws, and we always have our insecurities, that we're sometimes like, am I good enough? Am I doing it right? Am I supposed to be like this or not? But at the end of the day, when someone, it's family, they love you for who you are, good or bad. And so it's really fun. I highly recommend it. And that's it. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful winter ahead of you, with lots of joy, snow and cold if you like it. Hopefully you do. And if you are celebrating the holiday season, I hope you have a fantastic time spending time with family, friends, yourself, any way that you like it. And until the next video, happy reading.